Yes, 23 years ago, I was, in fact, the president of the NAACP in Garland, Texas. I have seen both sides of the street. And some of you who have had hamburger and you've had filet mignon, you'll know that the filet mignon is better. I won't trouble you long, but I do have a message for you today, and I thank you all so much for this warm hospitality that you have shown me here. I've been to, this is my third delegate convention in this state today, and then we have a meeting with others of the minority community later on this evening, and then I'll be headed home. My fellow Republicans, Jesus gives the parable of a fig tree that he comes upon that he is expecting to receive fruit from. The fig tree is in full bloom. But when he gets to it, even though it is in full bloom and it looks beautiful, there are no figs there. There's no fruit. He heads on toward Jerusalem after cursing that fig tree, because what he was expecting to receive, he did not receive. Now, I'm not going to preach a sermon, but I do want to use that as an analogy for us as Republicans. There are people all over this country who are expecting us to be who we are. And when they come upon us to receive something from us, the thing that they expected to receive, it's not there. Now, we've lost 2 presidential elections because we appeared to be something from a distance. But then when we got to a point where we were closely examined, we didn't decide to vote for ourselves, and sometimes other folks didn't decide to vote for us because they didn't like what they saw. Now, Republicans, I haven't come to upbraid you or anything of that nature. I have come to try and help us with this particular message. And that is that we need to build a bridge by telling our story. The Republican message is an awesome story. We have always stood for the rights of men and women, and it was the Republican Party who in fact set the slaves free in this country. I am living proof that this country is the greatest nation on the face of the earth, and you should be as well. Now, before I go any further, I want you to join me in thanking the greatest fighting force who defend our rights to speak our mind, and that is the United States military, the finest people on the face of the earth. In 1854, our party was founded. 6 years after it was founded, it produced perhaps the greatest president the country has ever known, Abraham Lincoln, the first president of the Republican Party. And 2 women I want to mention to you have gone down as mothers of the party. Jane Gray Swisshelm, a journalist, as well as suffragist Elizabeth Cady Stanton. She and Jane were called the mothers of the party. I mention this because here lately, we Republicans have launched a war on women. That's a lie. That's a lie. When we look at Susan B. Anthony, who the Democrats have hijacked, Susan B. Anthony said that I will support the Republican Party. And she encouraged all women to join her for one reason. That was because the Republican Party was the party that supported women to vote. And she decided to encourage all women to support the party. Now, the very first woman to speak at a national convention, a political national convention, was a Republican woman. Her name was J. Ellen Foster. She was the first to address the RNC in 1892. And this is what she said, women. She said this to all the men who were present, because there were very few women there. But she said this: "We have come to help you, and we have come to stay." And women, you need to carry that message to every corner of America. And as I have said in the other two gatherings that we have been in, all of you men should be smart enough to know that beside every smart man is a Republican woman. We're supposed to be racist, and we're supposed to be those who are haters. But our story has been hijacked. Our story has been hijacked by progressive liberals. It was Republicans who, in fact, elected the first congressional people who were of color to the Congress and the first senators to the Senate. It was Republicans who did that. Back in the 1800s is when we did it. Do you know when the first senator of the Democrats was elected? It was Carol Moseley Braun from Illinois, and the second one was Barack Obama. We had done that years before. And they make us look as though we're out of touch, and we let them get away with that because why? We many times do not know our own history because we are infighting far too much among ourselves. And let me tell you something. That's okay. We do need to hammer it out among ourselves, whatever our differences is within the family. There's no question about that. Every family has its disagreements. Every family needs to come to terms with themselves. But Republicans, if we are to succeed, if we are to broaden our umbrella and expand our community, then we as Republicans must be resolved that whatever bad blood we have within the four walls of this delegation, once we move out of these walls, we walk out of here united to defend the true enemy of the Republic, and that is Democrats. We must defend and defeat Democrats. Yep. My friends, our story has not been told. We're not telling our story. 70 years after Reconstruction, the playing field needed to be balanced. Dwight David Eisenhower, a Republican, was president of the United States. In 1957, Dwight David Eisenhower put forth a civil rights bill almost exactly like that was passed in 1964 and 1965. But it was stonewalled, stymied, and had its teeth taken out of it by two Democrat senators. And their names were Lyndon Baines Johnson, John F. Kennedy. That's the facts. Nearly 10 years later, the same bill that Dwight David Eisenhower wanted to pass, that was filibustered, was passed by Lyndon Baines Johnson. And the Democrat Party became the hero of black people because we did not tell our story. Our story was hijacked. What they didn't tell was it was a Republican senator from Illinois by the name of Everett Dirksen, who without his help, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and 1965 would never have passed. That is our story. Amen. And we don't tell our story. We must tell it. Now, there is a national cancer that will afflict us all if we are not careful. It is a cancer that we must deal with because it will erode the fundamentals of our nation. And we're finding an erosion within our ranks as Republicans. There are certain things that we should be about. There are certain things that Republicans should stand for. And let me tell you something. We cannot continue to chase Democrats farther and farther to the left just to get along with them. No, we must find some ground to stand on and stand on. And any Republican who wants to be friends that much with Democrats, tell them to go and join the Democrats, because we will stand for Republican principles. North Carolina, we're embracing too many progressive liberal policies just to get along. And we currently are failing those brave souls, many of them that I've told you about, in the process of doing it. I'm surprised, and I'm sure they would be surprised at what we have become as a party. And they would also be surprised at what we have not become. I'm going to say that again. Those who built this party and know what we have stood for over the years, they would be surprised at what the Republican Party has become. And I do believe they would be surprised at what we have not become. We have not become that shining city on the hill that Reagan talked about. We are letting that torch be blocked. We are hiding our light under bushels. We are the salt of the earth. We are the light of the world. We are the defenders of the Republic. And we wear proudly the name Republicans, because that means something. Words have meanings. And the name Republican has a meaning. We need to define ourselves and stop letting the Chris Matthews and the Rachel Maddows of the world define who we are for us. We have to define ourselves. Progressive liberalism has invaded not only our churches, and I say that because the progressive liberals have definitely co-opted the black church. Oh yeah. We've been very slow at learning how to deal with that. But in order to broaden our umbrella, I come to tell you that you're going to have to like some Southern black gospel music. You're going to have to start visiting some churches, and not just at election time, because that's the way the progressives play the role. But at least they're glad to see them whenever they show up. We should establish some type of relationship, and please don't call it outreach, but establish some type of relationship with the minority churches in your community, because they have hijacked, co-opted the churches, and is sneaking into your churches as well. Not only have they hijacked the churches, the progressive liberal agenda is hijacking our schools. Yes. Our children are no longer being taught how exceptional a country America is. Our children are being brainwashed and poisoned into thinking that the word conservative means something bad, and that anyone with an R by their name must be the devil. This is something that we have to stop, because there is only one block left in fundamentally changing our nation, and that is stealing the seed that we have planted, our children and our grandchildren. And so I bring you a warning that I hope you heed. because I know that our party is